Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a look at Hellboy. Hellboy is designed by James M. Hewitt and Sophia Williams, and is published by Mantic Games. This game plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play. Now, this game here, I know James has designed Blood Bowl, which I really love that game. A little expensive with all the miniatures, but it's really fun. So I was super excited to take a look at Hellboy. Another game that he designed that I wanted to take a look at was Warhammer Quest. And also his co-designer Sophie did Steel Coliseum, which I didn't play, but I want to actually check that one out also. So all sorts of really cool games. So it was interesting to see what those two people's take would be on basically a dungeon crawl style game based on the Hellboy universe. Now, I am not the greatest for Hellboy information. I've maybe read a couple comics and I watched 2 of the movies. So I'm not going to be the greatest to determine whether this is thematically great for the game. It seems to look like the comic or what I remember. So if that's true, then this is going to probably be great for Hellboy fans, especially if the lore matches what's actually in the game. So what I'm going to focus on is I'm going to try to do like a really brief overview of the game just to give you an idea of what's happened in the game and what's going on and what you're trying to do. So not really rules, but just basically overview of the game itself. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. Okay, so this is Hellboy the board game. Hellboy the board game is going to be a modular game where you're going to be playing like a sort of dungeon crawl throughout. There's going to be, in this base box, there are 6 modules that you can run, and these don't have to be in any order, so you can replay them, play them in any way you want. The 6 ones right here. And on each of these modules, before you get started, it actually is going to show challenging rating. This one's easy and duration short. There's only like 3 places to go on here. And this one here, you're going to read this first, then keep reading, then read this eviction notice, and then you're going to set up the board using this side here. Now this is going to show you what symbols go into the Doom deck, which is the Doom deck here we'll be using each round, and you'll match the symbols up here with the ones on here. What this simply means over here is every character that you're playing with has some of these Doom cards. You're going to put them in here also, and you'll give this a good shuffle and put it in. This will also tell you, based on player count, what encounter cards you're going to use to set up the encounter deck. So if I have 2 agents, I'm going to have 1 blue, 2 red. If I have 3 agents, I'm going to have 1 blue, 2 green. If I have 4 agents, I'm going to have 1 red, 2 green. Now, oops. Now this also shows your layout that you're going to put. There's lots and lots of tiles that come with this game, and they're all double-sided, so there's a lot of different configurations that you can have, and you have these doors that you're going to put out too. And then at this point you would have had to select your characters. But all right, these are the player cards that you can get in the game. There's 4 different players and all have different cool abilities with them. This is Liz Sherman, you have Johann Cross, you have Abe Sapien, and you have Hellboy. All of them are going to have a couple different stats that you're going to look at. These are going to be resolved for the different things that you can do. This is going to be fighting. This is going to be like ranged attacks, and ranged attacks works with line of sight. So if you're looking at a door, it's just straight into this block, but if you're here, you can see all the way over there. Sort of just can you draw a straight line? So that's range attack. This is investigate, which is going to help move this investigation marker to help you out with the final boss battle. And that's defense. Now in this game, you're going to have varying colors of dice. Yellow being the worst. Yellow has half of the dice have a 1 on it. The others have blank. Then you're going to go up to orange. Orange has 2 sides that are blank, but then has a 2s on 2 sides and 1s on 1 side. Then you're going to go up to a red. Red die has, I think, whoops, has a 3 and a 2 and a 1 and only has one blank side. So much better. And then no one starts with this, but you can get these black dice which have no misses and just do tons of damage, up to 4 I believe on this die. So with that said, Hellboy is really good at fighting. He's bad at ranged. He's average at investigation and average at defense. Where you have Liz Sherman here, which is going to be average at fighting, really good at ranged, below average for investigation, and average for defense. And you have Johan Cross here, which is going to be really horrible at fighting, but average at ranged and really good at investigation and okay at defense. And then you have Abe Sapien, which is really, really good at ranged, average at fighting, average at investigation, and really bad at defense. And each of these characters that you can go through have special abilities. So they have special rules that go with them. Some of them get cards that you track, like Liz Sherman has a living flame tracker that tracks the living flame. Abe Sapien is agile. When Abe makes a move action, he can move up to 3 areas instead of 2 and suffer no damage when invading enemies. So in this game, when you go past enemies, they follow you. So think like Death May Die did the same thing. All the enemies will follow you, and they'll hit you at the beginning. We'll go over phases in a second before you get to take your turn. But you can evade them, and you're going to take some damage to evade them, basically, so leave them behind. But Abe doesn't have to. Quick reflexes. When testing a fight action or shoot action, you can spend some of these that you can pick up to those result to return an action cube to Abe's agenda board. So you can basically return an action cube. Every player has 3 action cubes, so they have 3 actions they can take. This here shows how much these additional actions cost, other than some of the actions that you can get, basic actions like moving and such. This one here has special ability, strong arm, hurl an enemy in Abe's area. That costs 1 cube. 2 cubes is precision shot. Make a shot action ignoring all scenery and all characters other than the target. Now, scenery in this game, when we flip over encounter cards, sometimes you're going to place out scenery, and that scenery, for the most part, is just things you can pick up and throw around, but in some scenarios you can interact with that scenery. Slip away, that takes 2 actions. Remove Abe from the board. Place one of the action cubes that was spent to make the action in the area he was. It is not refreshed until the next end phase. At the start of the next agent phase, remove that cube and return Abe to that area. So basically what that means is he won't get hit by the enemies when he does that. All right, so we have Liz Sherman. Liz Sherman had that living flame track that you can interact with, but she has Stoke the Fire, advance the living flame track by 1 or 2. Once you get to a certain points on there, you can do cool stuff. She's fireproof, so fire can't do any damage to her. And she has a cool focus ability. We're going to go over these a little quicker. She has Flame Blast, which is a ranged weapon, which is really cool. This attack inflicts fire damage and adds the living flame level to the test score. So this can help out doing even more damage. Reduce the living flame tracker by 1. So once you do that, the living flame tracker will start diminishing. You have Emulate, put an Inferno in Liz's area and each adjacent explored area, and then roll the red die, which, remember, the red die has only 1 blank on it. Each other character in Liz's area suffers fire damage equal to the score plus the living flame level. Each character in the adjacent area suffers fire damage equal to the score alone. After the attack, reduce the living flame tracker by 2. So this could hurt people a lot. Again here, you can barely see it, but this is the threat track. This is used to determine where they get put on this, the higher number, which is going to, this case I'm playing with Hellboy here, which he is the biggest tank and the biggest threat, is on the bottom, and this determines who the enemies attack. And once you get attacked, you get shifted to the end. So with 2 players like this, it's going to be just going back and forth a lot with the red and the yellow tracker. So we're playing with her. She has some special cards that get out, and so will Hellboy. But a couple other things to know. Here's Johann Cross. Johann Cross is a dead man walking. He does not suffer injuries. Instead, for each damage he suffers, while he has no empty health track, reduce the ectoplasmic stability tracker by 1. So once that goes down, he is actually knocked out. He has a containment suit. Whenever the agents take time, rest the ectoplasmic stability tracker. So that means he can heal. Now, when agents take time, there can't be any enemies on the board, and they get to heal up, but the Doom card will be flipped because of that. So not necessarily a good thing. He has Stabilize, advance the ectoplasmic stability tracker by 1. Projection, reduce the electroplasmic stability tracker by 2. And place an action cube in the explored area until the end of the phase. Johann can make examine and explore actions as if he were in that area. And then we have Possess, which costs 2 actions out of his 3. Use this action when a minion is defeated. Reduce the ectoplasm stability tracker by 3. Then move the defeated minion up to 2 areas and make a ranged or melee attack before removing it from play. So that's pretty cool. We're actually not playing with him. This time we're going to be playing with Hellboy here and Liz Sherman. Hellboy is a tank. He's seen it all. Once per round, Hellboy spends an action cube to upgrade a test die on an examine test for himself or another agent, upgrading 2 dice rather than 1. Oh, I've seen it all before. So that was examine, the bottom one. Sorry. Spoke through both of them. Fire resistant, Hellboy never suffers more than 1 fire damage from a single attack or effect. So not quite as not fireproof, but fire resistant. Shake it off. When testing a fight, spend the these markers here to heal 2 damage. Taunt, which is a 1 cube action. Move Hellboy marker to the front of the target cube priority. So that's good for him taking all the damage because he's a little bit tough. He's at least going to be able to be your like tank for the game. Big right hook. Make a which is cost 2 cubes, which is a big right hand. Make a fight action. If you hit, the target suffers 3 additional damage and is stunned and hurled, which is awesome. And throw furniture. Remove a piece of scenery in Hellboy's area, then pick a visible enemy within 2 areas. That enemy is stunned and suffers damage equal to the scenery size plus the roll of the orange die. So that's pretty cool. Now we're going to go over a couple of things. These are characters. You're going to get these cubes on here, and then you're going to put these little markers on here so you know what color matches your cubes, plus you're on the threat track. And then you're going to pick a scenario. When you pick the scenario like this one, we're going to set up the board. We're going to read these case files. This is going to tell you where you're going to put out the, what do they call the insight? Or, yeah, they're called insight markers. So you can pick up insight markers to help you out with the boss. And where the doom marker gets placed. So this card will also go out here, and you're not going to look at anything unless something happens. And you'll have a action thing on here, and it'll match with that. So the goal here is you're going to try to get the rooms cleared, and each scenario, which there's a whole bunch, has something different. And if you do, then this whole thing flips over. Put this. Maybe we'll flip it over when we get to that point. And you're going to use the boss deck, and you're going to try to take out the boss. But let's go over what you can do on your turns and how the game flows itself. All right, I'm trying to make this a super brief overview, but there's a lot of cool things that you get in this game that I want to go over. You will get some items, starting items with each character. This one here has Hellboy's pistol and Deep Pockets. Deep Pockets is actually a pretty cool card. Let me get both of those out for you here real quick. Okay, so with Hellboy, you're going to get this Hellboy's pistol, ranged weapon. If the target is hit, it suffers 5 additional damage, which is awesome. Flip this card over when it's used, and then you're going to have to try to reload it. This Deep Pockets is pretty cool. Flip this card during the agent phase to draw from the bottom of the requisition deck. Now, the requisition deck here you get to purchase stuff from it based on your campaign. It'll be in the book, or I mean in the campaign, like how much you're going to get, and then you can spend it. This is the credit number, and after that you can use deep pockets if you're playing Hellboy to grab from the bottom of the requisition deck until you find one of these weapon type cards and keep it and return any others to the deck. So that's pretty cool. Now, Liz Sapien, this is going to be the living flame track that I was talking about. This here is, I'm going to show the number for the living flame. If the marker cube advances beyond the top of the track, flip it over, and this turns into the flame, living flame unleashed, which is really bad. So you want to try to keep this below because you'll kill everything. Liz Sherman's sidearm is right here. This is a ranged weapon. If you roll this is a critical fail, when you use this weapon, flip this card over in addition to the normal effects of the critical fail, and then you need to reload it. So every time you're rolling, so let's say I'm doing a fight action, I would take a look at this and I would roll 3 dice of that color. Okay, I'd also roll this blue dice, which has multiple different things that can happen. I can double one of the values. I can get one of these insight things. I can put more damage on. I could have a critical fail. I could re-roll 1 dice if I wanted. So there's a lot of stuff on there. And basically you're going to just roll and then add up the pips. You're going to take the defense value of the enemy that you're attacking. In this case, we have a lot of frog monsters that are going to show up. So before part of setup, which I didn't do, you're going to take out the frog monsters you're supposed to be using. I believe it's I'm not quite sure off the top of my head, but I think it's transforming, rampaging, and venomous are the 3 that we use. And these ones have a move, a health, and a melee. And you're going to be trying to deal damage to these guys equal to their health level. We're going to go over phases and how they attack, but monsters never roll dice. And these guys would actually go down here. I think you might even have the armed one here too, potentially. But they would go on the bottom. I just don't have enough room, so I'm going to set them off to the side. So that's fighting in general. And you can always use one of these cubes to upgrade a die. Upgrading or downgrading, depending on what's happening, because if you have swarms out, which are these little guys right here, they're going to downgrade your dice. So if you downgrade a die, you just go to the next color down. If you upgrade a die, so I go red, I could go red to black, and that's pretty cool. It can do lots of damage or do a lot of defense. We'll just go over attacking. So the way attacking is going to work is you're going to have the attack value of the monster. So that's Rasputin, sorry. So you have your melee attack right here. Let's say this one's doing a melee attack of 7. Then I would take my defense. I would roll 3 orange and the blue here. And I would have blocked 3 damage of the 7 and taken 4. When you take damage in this game, you are going to place these damage markers. So I took 4 damage on the character. And you're all fine and good. Now, if you fill this up, any additional damage is going to do bad stuff because you are going to need to flip these. And as you flip these, you are going to become weaker in things. Like this is going to make you weaker in observation. And this one's going to make you weaker in ranged. And so on. If these all get flipped, you get knocked out. Now, at the beginning of your turn, you can roll these yellow dice. And if you ever have anything with no blanks on it, you stand back up. Otherwise, you're out. All right, so how does the game flow itself? Well, the game flows itself in rounds. You have an enemy phase, which the enemies are going to attack you if they're available. And I showed you how they attack, and that's how you do your defense. And they will move towards you. They'll move to whoever is on the bottom of the threat track. You have the agent phase. You have a rest phase, which you can do. It's optional. Heal up, and then you'll have to flip over another Doom card. Doom phase, where you flip over a Doom phase. And the end phase. And we're going to go over each of these. All right, so to start out, your enemy phase, if you have any enemies in the area, they're going to attack you. When they attack, you're going to take the damage that's on there, and then you're going to roll your defense and see how much you subtract from it, your armor. After that's all done, you're going to take your basic actions. You can do this. There's no turns in this point. Anyone can do any point they want. They're just going to be spending their action cubes and doing them. So you can work cooperatively on who's going to do what. When you do things like move, so if I want to move or open a door or whatnot, I can spend one action cube. I can open this door, and I will then flip an encounter card, and this will tell me what I need to do, and I will do all the things I can do. So in here, in the section 1 here, I'm going to put out a minion A, which a minion A in this case would have been listed out over here. I believe that is a transforming frog monster. So this dude right here. And I put a transforming frog monster over there. There's only a second room here, which has nothing. So there's just a transforming frog monster there. In a larger room, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And you have those all out, and then resolve that and set it off to the side. So now I have a frog monster there. You can shoot. So I can shoot or do a melee attack. I can interact. Let's say I have one of these tokens over here. So I could shoot. So I could say, okay, I'm going to shoot him. So I'm going to spend an action to shoot him. And in this case, I get 3 yellows, which is pretty horrible, and the blue die. And I roll that, and I could do a reroll with that. So I got 3 hits. So then this frog monster would have 3 hits, and it has a health of 4. So it would have 3 hits on it and 1 remaining health. I have 1 remaining cube on here. I could let Liz Sherman do it, but you know what? I'm just going to do it anyway. Actually, you know what? It's even better because that shows how it's used better characters. Liz Sherman's really good at ranged. So I roll her, and she kills the frog monster. So that guy's dead. Then I can go back over to Hellboy, and maybe I wanted to move him there. I could move Liz Sherman, and then I can interact with this investigation token. If I interact with the investigation token, I'm going to take my investigation level for her, which is going to be 3 yellow, and I am going to roll. That failed. But let's say I didn't roll that, and I got 3 successes. If I have 3 successes, I move 1. If I had 6 successes, I get to move 2, and then I get this. So I'm trying to get 6 successes. So every 3 successes, you move forward. You also have clear if there's no enemies present on the board at all, but we have these little frog swarms out. You can clear the frog swarms out. Having 2 enemies on the board at the beginning of the enemy phase is bad, so you want to get those cleared out. You can do free actions, which you can just trade with each other. That's perfectly fine, doesn't cost anything. Explore, so I'm sorry, when you explore a room, that's a free action, so I would have kept one of my cubes. And after all that's done, you can do the rest phase. So after you're done, finished all these actions, you do the rest phase. If no enemies are on the board, each agent can pick the 1 rest action. They can investigate, discard a clue counter on the board, and advance the information gathering twice. That doesn't actually you don't have to do a roll, it just invest. It's pretty nice, it just advances it twice. You can recuperate, you can roll 2 red dice and heal damage equal to the score. So remember, red dice are pretty good. You can heal up to 6 with that, which is really, really cool because that's pretty much half your health gauge there. You can remove all frog swarms and infernos from any one room if infernos get created by Liz Sherman, potentially. Agents can trade items for freely. You can reset the priority track, and then you have to advance the impending doom, which is going to be this tracker right here. So that's if we do the rest. Now you have the end phase, which is going to refresh action cubes. You're going to resolve any infernos if they go, resolve any of the frog swarms and other effects. Infernos and frog swarms are going to basically downgrade dice, is basically what frog swarms do. And infernos cause damage. Minion behavior too, when we do that stuff. Minion behavior again will always go after the person with the most threat. And when you flip over your deck of doom, something really bad happens. So this one here is advance the impending doom tracker. So if I rested, I would have increase the impending doom tracker, and then this one would have increased it again. And I'm trying not to get to this 7. So I'm trying to clear out all these rooms and get moving before 7. This first level is pretty easy. You can get through here, and then you're gonna have to fight this giant frog beast coming down, and he's pretty rough. But you can move pretty quickly through this. It's faster with more players, like up to 4 players, but your doom tracker is moved down a little bit, so you have less time to accomplish all this stuff. So I know I just like randomly went over a lot of stuff, but in a nutshell, I just wanted to go over a really high level overview of what this game is and how much stuff you get with it, because these are replayable. There is some randomization in the way that this is set up, so each one plays a little differently. You'll have the same story, of course, but any of these are replayable and you can play them in any order. So real quick, I did forget to show you this. This is actually the boss side of the board. This is going to be a health tracker. You'll set it to whatever the health says the boss is. This is going to be your threat tracker, so it determines who's going to get hit. And if you have any insight markers, you can place these on here, and these insight markers will help you defeat that boss. So basically, this is just the flip side of the board, and you're going to keep track of the boss health for it. So let's go ahead back up the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on the game. All right, so Hellboy is a great game. Even I'm not a fan, like I said, I'm not really a fan of Hellboy. I didn't really get into it. So despite that, I really like this game. I really like the dice upgrade mechanics in the game. And just to start off, component quality is amazing for this game. For how much you pay and what you get, the component quality is great. The miniatures are great. They have the huge boss miniatures are awesome. I like all the frog miniatures, lots of frog stuff. So that must be a thing with Hellboy, a lot of frogs and tentacles, I guess. But the gameplay is easy, concise, and fun, and very fluid. I do appreciate that. I know it has like 6 missions, so that gives you about like, depends on the game duration. So if it's like a short game, you're probably looking at like 60 minutes. If it's a long game, you're probably looking at 2 hours. So with those 6, just guesstimating, you're gonna get like 8 to 10 hours worth of gameplay out of this, which is a really good number. And those scenarios are replayable. Now, some of the things you're not gonna read off, so depending on how you play it, you might get different text to read and stuff and different things to happen, so that might be worth it. But in general, you're gonna have an idea what each of the scenarios are. So I think even despite that, I would definitely be willing to pull this out and play the first scenario over multiple times. It's pretty quick, pretty straightforward for the first scenario. It's short duration, easy, really gives people the flavor of how the game plays. So that's cool. The other really cool thing they did was what do they call it? What is it called? It's it's the start here guide. So you get your first game going with it, and you basically get the gist of the rules. The rule book itself is not so great. It's not laid out really well. But if you do that start here guide, go through it, and then you can just look up what you need to as you go. That is the way to do it. That works really, really well, and I recommend that. I don't recommend just straight reading through the rule book. It's convoluted in where it's put its sections and stuff. But if you do that guide first and then look up when you need to, perfect. Dice are awesome, and just everything is awesome component quality. Everything is clean. If you're looking for a dungeon delving game to play that's quick and fun, this is a game you definitely want to check out. If you love Hellboy and you also like dungeon diving, this is like a match made in heaven. You're going to probably love this game. As long as there's something not off with the IP or whatnot that I'm missing, you're going to love the game. Negatives for it, I don't have a whole lot. My only negative for it is I don't like those little cardboard pieces. The ones that for the actions and stuff, the A, B, and C, and D, they're too small. I know this isn't the deluxe version, but they could have made them bigger. That's a really big nitpick, but I don't have a lot negative to say on that. Some of the terrain art is a little bland, but doesn't really matter. It still looks comic-y, so it's still cool. Yeah, overall, I really like this game. I will definitely play it anytime anyone asks. I like it so much, I think other people are going to enjoy it too. So we have a community game library. I'm going to put this in there. So it'll be available for free at any of the events we go to. And if you show up for any of them, I'd really love to play this with you. So that's my thoughts on Hellboy, the board game. Thank you for watching.